So what we've done thus far with the plotting package is we have named our plot and we have customized our curve choices so that they're easily distinguishable and color coded. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to append our axes together so as to make it again more visually appealing for our clients. And the way we do that is we right click on our plot, anywhere on our plot, and we go into the Customize Properties menu again. We'll go into Data, and you can see here that you have, this is your items on your left axis, your casing and tubing pressure, and you have your gas rate, oil rate, and frac N2 rate on your right axis. You can append axes together only if the end units are the same. So in this case, with the casing and tubing pressure, they are the same in the sense that they're both kilopascals absolute, and they're the same for the gas rate instantaneous at 10 cubes m cubes per day, and the same for the N2 rate. So we're going to tie those together. So what we're going to do, we already have our casing pressure highlighted, so we simply click on the tubing pressure, and that axis is now tied together. And then what we'll do is we'll scale down, we'll find our gas rate instantaneous, we'll click on our frac N2 rate, and now those two axes are tied together. So we click apply, and you can see now how those axes are tied together. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to put on some grid lines into our plot as well to make it more easily readable for our clients as well. And the way we do that is we go into our Customized Properties, we will go into our axis this time, and we're going to look for axes that are already used. So we see that we have our frac N2 and our gas rate instantaneous. So we'll click on minor grid lines, we'll click on major grid lines, and we'll do the same for our other axes as well. There's our oil rate, and there's our tubing pressure and casing pressure, and there's our date and time. So once we click apply, you'll see that the grid lines have now been added to your plot. Another new feature of Field Notes version 3 is the ability to scale both the x-axis and the y-axis, which is something that was not able to be done in the previous version. And the way we do that is you can see how I have the y right axis here unlocked. So what I can do here is I can simply scale back my x-axis back and forth like so. And then when I lock the y right axis like so, then I can start scaling the y right axis. You can see that. Now you can see there that your N2 rate and your gas rate are going to move at the same time because, as I showed you, I tied both curves together. Now I can separate them as well, and if I do separate them, they will move independently and they will be on a different scale. There's our oil rate here, so you can see that, how that's moving back and forth, and there is your y left axis, which is your tubing pressure and your casing pressure, and you can see how they're all moving together like so. So what we'll do here is we'll get everything on the same curve like so. And now what we're going to do is we're going to put in annotations here to identify key points on the curve. Now the way we do that is if we go into this icon right here which says create annotation. So what we're going to do is we're going to go and find our final gas rate. So if we click on the create annotation button, we want this particular arrow to anchor to the gas rate. So we'll find our gas rate like so. We will go into our text and we'll call this particular point the final gas rate. And if we click OK, you'll see now how that arrow and that annotation has now been created. And another new feature in Field Notes version 3 with the plotting package is the ability to drag arrows to anywhere on that particular curve. So if I just left click on the arrow, I can move it over, and I've identified this point as my final gas rate. The other thing you can do too is you can see how the values are being shown as show units. If I want to get rid of the units, I can just simply unclick the show units. And the other thing I can do as well, by double clicking on that particular annotation box, I can increase the font size of my annotation title, like so. The other thing I can do too is I can drag over the annotation and it stays anchored to that particular arrow. So I can move it 360 degrees if I want, like so, and it stays anchored to that particular arrow. Another feature as well is if I right-click on this particular annotation, you can see how I can tie additional attributes to this particular point. So I can also tell you what the final oil rate is at this particular point, what the final frac N2 rate is, or what the final tubing pressure is, what the casing pressure is. What the casing pressure is, the tubing pressure, the frac N2 rate, the oil rate, and the gas rate is. So now what we're going to do is we're going to do the same thing for our oil rate. So let's go and we'll do the same thing again. We'll go into our customized properties.